Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. I'm Heath. Boy, it's been rough over here. It's been rough. How have things been with you? Last night, yesterday afternoon, I did not get the kind of work I wanted to get done because I ended up with a computer problem. I had to be working on a computer problem for a few hours, which set me back. But do you remember yesterday when I couldn't get the ebook reader to launch to read The War of Art? Well, it could have been as a result of this problem that I was having. So I had to straighten out computer problems a lot of yesterday afternoon, but then finally got back to writing in the evenings. And that seems to be a good time to write for me. So I got back to writing. I was really hoping to sit there and power through and get done with the Christmas story that I'm working on. But I didn't get it done. It is still not done. So it's going to pass into this weekend as well. I guess it's going to have to be tonight, whatever. I guess in the long run, it's not all that long because I've been working on that story on its re-edit and stuff since last Thursday. So it's been 8 days. Or this is Friday now. This is Friday now. So this will be its 9th day, which on the whole isn't bad. I just wish I'd been able to get to this story like 2 weeks ago, because there's a time crunch, because I want to be able to get it out for Christmas. So I took a deep dive, as Sable would say. I've been where dreams come, which is great. And it's better because I want to keep pushing through. I want to get this one done using the hammer technique now, rather than the let me work a little bit on everything. Now it's time for the hammer technique. So the Christmas story has been the subject of the hammer for, well, basically the last week. Then I got to get the Rabavania RPG ready to go out, but it'll go out next at the first of next year. The Christmas story is going to go out by Christmas, and then after I get the Rabavania RPG edited and ready to go, then it'll be time to finish that script. Good morning. I know. That it's like all of a sudden, you realize I'm trying to fix the car. I got to have somebody come by and pick the car up today. Like when I was feeling completely defeated on all fronts when systems aren't working, like the car is not working and then the computer is not working. It's like, oh my God. Good. So James, James is here. Lynn, good morning, Lynn, and Zero the Blade, good morning. Tomocrat's getting all the tea soon for Breathe and Sip. Here, let's go over here with my microphone. He said, "Oh, I'm a genius." Sable says, "I'm a genius at computer problems. I went to Han Solo School of Percussive Maintenance." That's where it's gotten with the car. Not the computer, thank goodness. But yeah, so Rabavania early Q1. That's my thinking. So that's my thinking right now. I want to put out the Goodnight Sword on Indiegogo. So I haven't had time to think about that either, because it's all been making sure this story actually gets written. If the story gets written, then I'll know that the Christmas story can launch. That would put a Goodnight Sword on Indiegogo. Then we would have also the Christmas story come out, probably a Kickstarter before Christmas, before Thanksgiving, really, because then the books need to be ordered so they can get into everybody's hands before Christmas. Meanwhile, I try to finish the script because the time has come. Brianna and I were talking about that as well. We've been on a major cycle of learning and growth over the past 2 years, basically. And about 2 years ago was when I started writing the Clovis story in Rabavania. But it's actually time to get some things done. But then that would I don't want to launch something, over Christmas. So that would but it looks like the timing will be right to launch to launch the first Rabavania. Well, no, it's not the first Rabavania, because Goodnight Sword is the first Rabavania. But as far as the story perspective, everything should be ready. I got some other products that I need to make with that, but should be early 2024. Then be good. Yes, I know. Well, I thought about it. So what I'm going to do is I do want to send out. We'll go over the Christmas story here, but I want to. I want to send out the Christmas story for some beta reading. Brianna's going to read it. My brother said he would read it. Doug, I'll send it to Doug as well. I can send it out to a couple of people here if you want, because once I get it done, it needs to cool a little bit. I need to think about some of the things as far as the text goes, like the illustrations and all of that. So then I'm going to let it cool while sending it out to some other people, and then get some commentary back, then make another pass over it, and then we can talk about it and whatever. We can talk about it here on the show, get a proof of the book in, and then get this done. Let's see what else is going on. So we're going to breathe. Don't let me forget. We'll breathe and sip here in just a moment. But see what else is going on. So what else is going on is that over on the Table Talk channel, I was able to post. Let's see. So if you are here and you're not over there yet, this is the home of Table Talk. Please subscribe to the Table Talk channel. Doug over here. So I noticed yesterday, this says it's 3.3, but over here, how many views? So we have the most popular short over on the Table Talk channel yet. And it's Doug, of course. Fourth, according to the stats over here in the YouTube studio, 4,600 views on Doug's short about what else but erasing the sequel trilogy, right? So Doug's going, well, at our level, this is going viral. So that's, of course, what do people like to talk about? They like to talk about Star Wars, and what do they especially like to talk about? Getting rid of the trilogy. So, of course, so that's over. No sound on Doug. Oh, I'm sorry. You did watch the clip? Okay. Well, there we go. So he's going viral over there. That's kind of fun. Been trying to figure out how these shorts work and how they operate. So most of the time it's just quality, the quantity of material that's going out. Okay, so that's over there. Oh. Also, let me put out Goodnight Sword. So if you are coming in and you have not signed up to get a free copy of Goodnight Sword yet, let me put this over here. And then let's go. All right. Let's breathe and sip. Let me take this down. Let me see if I can bring up our book. This time I should be able to. Oh, good morning, Stray. Good morning. Let's see. There, see? All right. See, something was up yesterday. Computer problems. All right. So we've got, hey, Charlie. Good morning, Charlie. We have got The War of Art up by Stephen Pressfield, which is our reading. And let's get our coffee ready, or whatever it is that you like. I have coffee this morning, actually in the Witch's Brew mug. Needed some coffee after last night. I was my sleep schedule. Man, sleep is not going well. And I even took a sleeping tablet last night because I was like, all right, I could sit here and write, but on the other hand, I got to try to reset. I've been trying to reset for it forever. All right, so let's breathe and sip. 2 deep breaths, complete inhales, full deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage, and then we will do our reading from The War of Art this morning for our inspiration to get things done. So here we go. And sip. Okay, I think we did resistance opposes only in one direction yesterday, but we're going to go ahead and read that one and then go over here to resistance is the most powerful at the finish line. So resistance only opposes in one direction. Resistance obstructs movement from only a, by the way, if you're just coming in, resistance is that which keeps us from being everything that we should be. Everything, especially when you're talking about trying to achieve something creatively, but anything that actually betters yourself or moves you, as he's talking about here, to a higher plane. Resistance is everything that stops you. So our job is to overcome resistance. Resistance obstructs movement only from a lower sphere to a higher. It kicks in when we seek to pursue a calling in the arts, launch an innovative enterprise, or evolve to a higher station morally, ethically, or spiritually. So if you're in Calcutta working with Mother Teresa, the Mother Teresa Foundation, and you're thinking of bolting to launch a career in telemarketing, relax. Resistance will give you a free pass. Resistance is most powerful at the finish line. Odysseus almost got home years before his actual homecoming. Ithaca was in sight, close enough the sailors could see the smoke of their families' fires on shore. Odysseus was so certain that he was safe, he actually lay down for a snooze. It was then that his men, believing there was gold in an oxhide sack among their commander's possession, snatched the prize and cut it open. The bag contained the adverse winds, which King Aeolus had bottled up for Odysseus when the wanderer had touched earlier at his blessed isle. The winds burst forth now in one mad blow, driving Odysseus's ship back across every league of ocean they had with such difficulty traversed, making him endure further trials and sufferings before, at last and alone, he reached home for good. The danger is greatest when the finish line is in sight. At this point, resistance knows that we are about to beat it. It hits the panic button. It marshals one last assault and slams us with everything it's got. The professional must be alert for this counterattack. Be wary at the end. Don't open the bag of wind. We must be conscious of this. We must be aware of this. And actually, in some ways, I kind of feel like that's the script over here, because now I know the story. After all of this, the story is done. I need to meet with Cameron on it and say, all right, this is what I got. This is what it's going to be. But now it's time to actually finish it and get it written. Let's see. Now, I agree with you about Finn. Let's go a little bit further. He was not done well. He was not done well. Let's see. Resistance. Okay, let's do resistance recruits allies, and then we will go over to the recipes from the world of Tolkien today. Recipes recruits allies. Resistance recruits allies. Resistance, by definition, is self-sabotage, but there's a peril that must be guarded against: sabotage by others. When a writer begins to overcome her resistance, in other words, when she actually starts to write, she may find that those close to her may begin acting strange. They may become moody or sullen. They may get sick. They may accuse the awakening writer of changing, of not being the person she was. The closer these people are to the awakening writer, the more bizarrely they will act and the more emotion they will put behind their actions. They are trying to sabotage her. The reason is that they are struggling, consciously or unconsciously, against their own resistance. The awakening writer's success becomes a reproach to them. If she can beat these demons, why can't they? Often couples or close friends, even entire families, will enter into tacit compacts whereby each individual pledges unconsciously to remain mired in the same slough in which she and all her cronies have become so comfortable. The highest treason a crab can commit is to make a leap for the rim of the bucket. The awakening artist must be ruthless not only with herself but with others. Once you make your break, you can't turn around for your buddy who catches his trouser leg on the barbed wire. The best thing you can do for that friend, and he'd tell you this himself if he's really your friend, is to get over the wall and keep moting. Keep moving? The best way, things that one artist can do for another, is to serve as an example and lead as an inspiration. Now let's consider the next aspect of resistance: symptoms. So, blessings be upon Stephen Pressfield. All right, let's bring up the auxiliary camera. So actually, I don't know that word. It probably is a word. So I don't know this word. I'm sure it is a word. I mean, Stephen Pressfield wrote it. Wait, how do you spell it? I had to look it up. Okay, Sable says had to look it up: to run at a high speed or sprint. Okay, yeah. So U.S. slang. I've never heard that. So it says it's U.S. slang, not from where I am from. Motate, to run at a very high speed or sprint. Huh. Okay, so now we know. All right, I am going to pour some coffee. I need more this morning. Let me bring up the extra camera. Go. auxiliary camera. Sable says, when I hit that one in my first read through, I was like, I can see that that's a real word, but I've never heard of that definition. Yeah, I hadn't either. So all learning something, man. In fact, words and language, that comes up so often here on the Morning Grind, it seems like, because I'm reading all these words that, especially when it comes to the recipes, that I have no idea what are. Oh, Yeti, we got a call for a Yeti. Okay, we can do it. We need a Yeti. Okay, so here we are. We are set up. I'm just going to refill my coffee before we get started here with this. So let's do it. Oh, it's time for a Yeti hug break. Yeti hug break. Yeti hug break. Everybody go hug yo Yeti and show yo Yeti some love. The Yeti hug break should go viral on Shorts sometime. Let's see. All right. So what we're doing is we're looking through here for potential. I need to come up with a list of recipes to potentially do for dinner and a board game. I was talking to Brianna about dinner and a board game. I need a system. I think Sunday nights are going to become a good dinner and a board game night, but I need a system that produces dinner and a board game as well as Tuesday, Thursdays, table talk. Now that does suck that it seems, I would say undoubtedly between like 6 o'clock p.m. and 2 o'clock a.m. at night. And I try not, I wrote a lot of my dissertation during that time, but I'd say that's when I'm most creative as a writer. So now but if we do the podcast in the evenings, we will see. Afternoons just does not seem good for me. So I was trying to come up with, some thematic recipes because I need to do about 10 recipes. And do 10 sets of to do 10 more episodes of Dinner and a Board Game. So we were on food for the elves. Food and the elves. Like the elves themselves, Tolkien typically describes their food and their consumption of it in ethereal terms. While hobbits, dwarves, and men are often shown in the gross act of eating and drinking, feeling hungry or being greedy, elves are rarely so depicted. When we do hear about elvish eating habits, it's generally in vague, somewhat elevated terms. In contrast to the almost food-obsessive Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, the elf-dominated Silmarillion is much shorter on references to food, with references to generic feasts rather than to specific foodstuffs or dishes. The overall impression we gain, then, is that for the elves, food is somehow divorced from their bodily needs. They are immortal, after all. Yeah, but they could still starve to death. That said, Tolkien's conception of the elves and their appetites seems to have gone through something of an evolution between the writing of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. In The Hobbit, Bilbo's first encounter with elves during the quest of Erebor takes place in Rivendell, where, up at the last homely house, faggots are being roasted and bannocks baked, quite earthly foods, to say the least. In his second encounter, deep in Mirkwood, the starving Bilbo and the dwarves stumble across a woodland feast at which meats with enchanting smells are being roasted upon open fires. The elven king of Mirkwood, moreover, is depicted as a wine connoisseur, importing fine vintages from far away as the Sea of Rhun, and converting his wine cellar and coveting his wine cellar like a dragon guarding his hoard of gold. Ugh. I have no idea the reference that's going on in the comments. By contrast, our first encounter with the elves in Lord of the Rings provides a very different impression of elvish appetites, though in part this may be explained by the distinction Tolkien makes between the super-civilized high elves and the more rustic wood elves shown in The Hobbit. At Woodhall, Frodo, Pippin, and Sam enjoy a rarefied, seemingly vegetarian meal courtesy of their Noldoreen elf Gildor, featuring bread surpassing the savor of a fair white loaf. Oh, so there was white loaf, a surpassing the flavor of a white loaf. So that's why there were white loaf bread in here. So that's okay. So she got that from here. Featuring bread, surpassing and fruits sweet as wild berries, washed down by a fragrant draught, cool as a clear fountain. In the foods, it is noticeable. The foods, it is noticeable, are described in the vaguest terms, as like something else, a strange, exotic, and even otherworldly, contrasting strongly with the hobbit's own robust diet. Later, much longer encounters with the elves provide us with less detail. In Rivendell, there is much feasting, but the primary occupation, such as feasts, seems almost to be singing and storytelling rather than eating. Similarly, we learn about food in Lothlorien, except that it is inevitably better than the food. Similarly, we learn little about the food in Lothlorien, except that it is inevitably better than the food the Fellowship has been habitually eating. The sole exception is the near miraculous lembas bread and the reviving cordial mirivor. Dinner and supper. Supper is the most often mentioned meal in The Lord of the Rings, with breakfast a close second, closely reflecting the importance they have in the Hobbit's daily routine. As the heartiest and merriest meal of the day, supper is much looked forward to and is often accompanied by supper songs, an example of which is sung by Frodo at the Prancing Pony. The men of Gondor accord the same importance to supper, which they call the day meal, a time of mirth and relaxation after a hard day's work, broken only by a relatively light breakfast and a noontide luncheon. Speaking of all of this, so next Tuesday, the subject of the next table talk is going to be world building. We're doing world building. Doug has a lot of notes on that, and Brianna wants to talk about world building because she and I were talking about that with regard to her book, the City of Reckoning, and she was talking about how her perspective on a lot of the world building. She did a lot of world building for that. In fact, world building was one of the first things that Brianna and I ever talked about. So she's got a lot of notes. I was thinking about that recently. World building, I mean, that's such a big topic if you just say, hey, we're going to be talking about world building. But Doug has lots of notes on that, so that's probably going to be a multi-session topic, I'm sure, because there could be subtopics within it. But world building is what we're going to be talking about on Tuesday. We'll get back to Star Trek 6 maybe after that. So what do we have here? This is the Haradrim Tagine. This veg-filled tagine will provide a winner for meat eaters, vegans, and vegetarians alike. For added nutrition, you could serve it with a protein-rich quinoa rather than traditional couscous, and dried apricots work well in place of figs. This recipe imagines a Haradrim meal of red tomatoes and golden couscous with spices to evoke their bright, sunny homeland. Pumpkin and goat's cheese bake. The Green Dragon's mushroom and leek pie. Does that sound good? I don't know. I don't really eat leeks. But maybe it's good. These individual pies make a great vegetarian main course. You can also make one large pie, in which case increase the baking time to 20 to 30 minutes or until the pastry is beautifully puffy and golden brown. Pies don't need to have meat to be warm and comforting. This vegetarian pub classic will make you feel like a hobbit settling down to a hearty supper in the Green Dragon in Bywater. Sam and his father's local, gossiping all the while about odd Mr. Baggins up at Bag End and his famous hidden treasure. Whatever you ask of his companion, ask your companion, Andwise Roper, will he do next? Whatever you ask your companion, Andwise Roper, what he will do next. Leeks, chestnut mushrooms, button mushrooms, flour, milk, double cream, strong cheddar cheese. Finely chopped parsley, ready rolled puff pastry. Fell Winter. Is this the one? This might have been the one that we did for dinner and a board game the last time. Oh, Lynn says leeks are good, but I'm afraid I'm not so fond of mushrooms. I do love mushrooms. Mushrooms are awesome. Sable also likes mushrooms. Fell Winter root vegetable stew. This flavorsome. I think this is the one that Megan cooked. I was like, what did Megan cook? I'd have to go look that up. But I think this is the one that Megan cooked on dinner and board game already. This flavorsome vegan stew is packed with health-giving veg and is perfect for feeding a crowd. The flavor improves on keeping it. The flavor improves on keeping, so it tastes even better the next day, gently reheated. Serve with crusty bread or garlic mashed potatoes. So in 2911 to 12 TA, Eriador is struck with a long, cold winter in which food runs short and white wolves come south, even crossing over the frozen Brandywine River into the Shire. The beleaguered inhabitants of the Shire are only able to survive with the help of Gandalf and the Rangers of the North. This stew makes use of winter vegetables and dried herbs, conjuring a taste of what we think hobbits might have eaten during that long, cold winter while eagerly awaiting the spring. With each bite, imagine sitting by the hearth as the snow falls down outside, grateful for the warmth and comfort of your well-appointed hobbit hole. I like that, and I bet that is why. I think this is the one that we already did. This would definitely go on the list, but this one's already been done. Because squash, a pumpkin or large butternut squash, olive oil, onion, cloves, red chili, celery sticks, carrots, parsnips, plum tomatoes, hot paprika, red kidney beans, finely chopped parsley. That all goes together in this stew. Yep, I believe that was it. Turan bar. Tarragon chicken. With its delicate licorice-like flavor, tarragon is the perfect flavor pairing for chicken. Serve with green salad if you like. This chicken can be served atop creamy mashed potatoes instead of pasta. Tolkien's hero Turambar lives a life of valiant deeds that culminate in his defeat of the dreaded dragon Galarung. His tragic story, told in part in the Silmarillion, finds its fullest rendition in Tolkien's posthumously published The Children of Húrin, edited by Christopher Tolkien. We like to think the delicious dish below might well have given the stern, grief-stricken hero a few moments' respite during his hapless struggle to overcome the doom laid upon his family by the evil Morgoth. Fish and chips. Yeah, that's right, yeah. I don't think we added chili peppers to ours. As I was reading that, I was like, I don't remember having chili peppers. No, yeah, I sauteed mushrooms too, like when I have them. But just sauteed mushrooms are great, I think. Well, what do they say about fish and chips? I don't think this is this one has got to be there because we talk about this one, so it's got to be in the book. But I don't know if it's right for dinner or board game. But this quintessentially British dish is given a healthy twist, as both the chips and the fish are oven roasted rather than deep fried, and is enhanced by the addition of a creamy dip, bursting with citrus flavor for dunking your chips. Once again, we do have the citrus flavor. We talked about that yesterday. We encounter fish and chips in Lord of the Rings when Sam reminisces on the good food he could have back home and promises to make the dish for Gollum if he's good. This food might seem anachronistic given the swords and great halls that lend to the rest of the book a very medieval feel, but its presence is part and parcel with Tolkien's project of creating a mythology for England. There's nothing more quintessentially English, or indeed British, than fish and chips, and this classic comfort food feels like an element of Britishness that transcends time. Yeah, it's the chips. that does seem anachronistic in this. Serves 4, cook 1 hour. 1.5 kilogram large floury potatoes cut into thick chips. Because if you said, that Frodo and Sam were having some fish and French fries, wouldn't have the same ring. 2 tablespoons olive oil, wholemeal bread crumbs, 1 finely grated zest of 1 lemon, tablespoon chopped parsley, chunky white fish fillets, each cut into 4 chunky pieces, or gudgeons. I haven't heard of that word either. Flour, 1 egg beaten. For the lemony mayonnaise dip, 1 egg, olive oil, tablespoon white vinegar, grated zest of 1 small lemon, plus 2 tablespoons juice, 2 tablespoons chopped parsley. Toss the potato chips in the oil, then roast in a preheated oven, 200 degrees, gas mark 6, for 30 to 40 minutes, turning occasionally until golden and crisp. Meanwhile, toss the breadcrumbs with the lemon zest and parsley on a plate. Lightly coat the fish gudgeons in the flour, then the beaten egg, and then finally the breadcrumbs. Place on a baking sheet and roast alongside the chips for a final 20 minutes of the chips' cooking time until the fish is opaque and cooked through. For the lemony mayonnaise dip, place the egg, olive oil, and white wine vinegar in a jug and whiz with a hand blender until a thick mayonnaise is formed. Fold the lemon zest and juice along with the parsley. So the mayonnaise dip is olive oil, white wine vinegar, and an egg. Egg, oil, olive oil, and white wine vinegar with the lemon zest. Lynn says, another quintessentially British potato dish is roasties. And they're every bit as good as chips, if not better. I can totally see hobbits making roasties. Roasties for sure. Anything deep fried seems a touch out of place. Maybe that's why... Who is the author here? Robert. Maybe that's why Robert here went with baking them. Lynn says it's really difficult to make decent chips fries in the oven. Requires some additional ingredients and special techniques. Brandywine fish pie. Numenorian red mullet and vine leaf parcels. A taste of the Mediterranean. This is a meal that will wow guests. The vine leaves will add a lovely astringency to the fish, but if you can't find them, use baking parchment. If you struggle to find red mullet, your local fishmonger or fish counter should be able to advise on a replacement. Hang on, I need to shut this door. In the Second Age, Numenor is a great island kingdom off of the Sundering Seas west of Middle-earth, created as a reward for the men who joined the elves and the Valar in their struggle against Morgoth. The Numenorians are granted long lives and become known for their great craftsmanship and prowess as seafarers. These red mullet and vine leaf parcels are inspired by the calm, warm waters that surround the Isle of the Blessed. They are the perfect grilled main for a warm summer's day. Enjoy them with a warm fig and prosciutto salad with blue cheese on page 76 for a Numenorian-inspired feast. Olive oil, lemon juice, chopped dill, spring onions, mustard powder, 8 leaves in brine, drain, 8 vine leaves in, is that grape leaves? I love grapes. That's what they're talking about here? James says, if you can't find the red mullet, I'll bet orange roughy or rockfish would be the decent substitutes. Rosemary lamb skewers. Juniper roast lamb. Lake Town beef pot roast. Okay, well, this could be a good one. Because I was looking for things that could be done. Excuse me. Sable says, I wonder how you could get a nice sour tartar sauce without the lemon. So vinegar, Lynn says vinegar would work. Lake Town pot roast. This will fill the house with mouth-watering aromas as it cooks, and the slow-cooked brisket will be a melt-in-the-mouth tender. Serve with some crispy beans and buttery mashed potatoes or sweet potatoes to mop up the delicious gravy. I was looking for more things that could be done in the roaster, because that seems like a very practical way to feed people who are coming over for a board game. This beef pot roast is very much like the beef stew I made yesterday. Oh, Candace makes a winter fish stew with a cream base that we use rockfish in. It's incredible. And we have lots of food lovers here. Right? This would be so popular. James Bacon says, I just love food. Food is wonderful. Serve with crisp green beans and this buttery mashed potatoes or sweet potato to mop up the delicious gravy. Fresh green beans, like sauteed, fresh, crisp green beans are fantastic. I was completely soured on green beans as a kid because we used to have the canned green beans. For some reason, canned green beans were something that Mother had a lot. I don't know why. I think those things are terrible. So I was like, green beans are awful. No, actually, green beans can be great if they are fresh and crisp and with some butter and some salt and like lightly sauteed. Then they're fantastic. I would never inflict canned green beans on a kid. Soggy green beans. Sam's Coney stew. Rabbit can be a bit dry if not cooked in the right way, but braising it slowly in a richly flavored sauce will guarantee tender, juicy meat. Chicken thighs would work well here as a substitute for rabbit. I don't think we're going to be cooking rabbit stew around here. Samwise's campfire rabbit stew provides one of the more iconic moments in Lord of the Rings, providing a scene of comfort and a whiff of home for Frodo and Sam before the final stage of their journey across the mountains into Mordor. Sam bewails the lack of a good stock and taters, but he does manage to gather up a few herbs to add some flavor. Fortunately, here in the real world, we have more ingredients at our disposal than poor Sam had in Ithilien. In honor of Master Samwise's stew, we have devised this rich and comforting stew that calls upon the flavors of herbs to complement the rich and tender rabbit meat. Feasting in Tolkien. It is no coincidence that The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings begin with feasts, albeit two somewhat different kinds. An informal, impromptu one in The Hobbit, where the impeccably hospitable but increasingly flustered Bilbo finds himself forced to cater for a growing number of ravenous dwarves, and the grand, highly organized one in Lord of the Rings, for which an enormous open-air kitchen is set up and cooks employed from all the inns in neighborhood, mass catering on an Olyfantian scale. Both of these feasts, different though they are, serve the same basic narrative function. They conjure up a world of cheerful plenty and associated feelings of warmth and security, peace and happiness, all the ingredients, in short, that we associate with the word home. This is the safe place which the comfort-loving hobbits of the books must leave behind as they set out on their quest into the perilous world and begin their transformation into heroes. Importantly, too, feasting fosters a sense of community. The wily Gandalf knows the best way to get Bilbo and the dwarves together is to trick them into eating and drinking together, even if Bilbo is somewhat of an unwilling host in his cozy version of a feasting hall Bag End. In the Two Towers, we encounter an actual feasting hall where Tolkien underlies the Golden Hall's societal function by having Legolas describe it as a light shining over the land. Ironically, when Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli first come to Medushold, They find it gloomy and unfriendly, the very antithesis of feast and hospitality. The absence of feasting here symbolizes the rot that is set in the heart of the kingdom and at the heart of the prematurely aged King Theoden. And to drink. I think drinks we should do, but I'm not sure here. Yeah, I know. That was it. That's when I had regular green beans, I was like, what is this? Kentucky Runners. I know those. I was lucky with green beans as a kid. My grandmother had a variety called Kentucky Runners that came back from the South. See, but my grandmother would actually would can her own green beans. She would grew all kinds of vegetables. They did out in the country of the South, but they would still can the green beans. And I don't even think that those green beans are even better when canned. Like but she never really cooked them right off the vine. And that's when they would be best, cooked right off the vine. But, but that's just not what they did. They always canned them. So just even the homemade canned green beans, I just can't do it. But there were so many great green beans growing right around there. It would have been great. I love beans, but for some reason can't stand lima beans or butter beans. I can't explain why. I find them revolting. Almost any type of bean is going to be delicious. So let's look at the drinks here. Think of Middle-earth and drinking, and flowing tankards of ale come to mind. Probably enjoyed in one of the many hospitable inns of the Shire or Breland. But in many peoples of Tolkien's world consume a much wider range of beverages, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, from the refreshing int draught of Fanghorn to the hot spiced wines loved by the dwarves. See, and I really want this section to be really good, because I would love to do some drinks, and will do for dinner and a board game. But for instance, this is Athelas tea. Tolkien imagined his Middle Earth. Well, let's see, Athelas tea. With its heady scent of mint and lemon verbena, this clean-tasting tea is refreshing and reviving. It's a good aid to digestion after dinner as an alternative to coffee. So, again, we have the inspiration here. This is Chinese gunpowder green tea leaves, 2 to 3 sugar lumps plus extra to taste, a large bunch of peppermint and garden mint leaves and stems, small bunch of lemon verbena leaves and stems. Tolkien imagined his Middle-earth in almost every aspect in an astonishing detail, right down to the smallest herb Athelas, or kingsfoil, its long-stemmed leaf that was used by Aragorn to help heal Frodo after he's wounded by a Nazgul blade on Weathertop. The plant has a clear, clean, and revitalizing scent that strengthens both body and mind. Here, the flavor of Athelas is imagined as a combination of mint and lemon verbena, offering both comforting warmth and refreshment. So where is he going with Miravor? Let's see. So Miravor. So see, this is one that I would tentatively want to do. So let's see if it's what's the interpretation here is. Fragrant rose water is the key to this refreshing cordial. Serve it on a hot summer day over lots of ice cubes and with a sprig of mint or slice of cucumber. A dash added to gin and tonic transforms it into a cocktail full of Eastern promise. Miravor is an elvish reviving cordial made from Yavanna's flowers and used in elvish festivals. In The Lord of the Rings, Elrond gifts Gandalf with a flask of Miravor. It comes in handy for the Fellowship when they drink it to revive themselves after braving the treacherous snowy mountain crossing of Carhaderas. This fragrant drink will warm you up in a pinch and prepare you to overcome the next challenge on your journey, even if it's an abandoned mine hiding a Balrog. So like Lembas, it's magical. So any recreation of it, unfortunately, doesn't have the magical aspect. But this is supposed to be, you use granulated sugar in this, 450 grams of granulated sugar, water, juice of a half a lemon, and rose water. Where do you get rose water? Okay, you can get rose water on Amazon. Rose water, glass bottle, 10 fluid ounce. How much do you need? This is expensive. What's popular pick, pack of 2. Well, it could be done for something special. Miravor, I've always imagined as always being the freshest, coolest, sweetest spring water you've ever tasted. Lynn says, I'm good with just a splash of rose water in mango lassi, but never as a main flavoring. At this price, I think you would a splash of it here or there is the way to go. Stray says I could go for some of that right now. This would be a good morning grind drink as well. I'm kind of curious about it. I'm going to put this on the tentative list. We found this one over here, Miravor. So we place the sugar and measured water into a heavy-based saucepan and bring it to the boil, stirring continuously until the sugar has dissolved. 2. Add the lemon juice and simmer for 5 minutes. Stir in the rose water and simmer for 4 to 5 minutes. Leave to cool in the pan and then pass through a sieve into a sieve. I think I've already said sieve there. I don't think I've ever pronounced that word out loud. Into a sterilized bottle or jar. Into a sterilized bottle or jar? To serve, place a few ice cubes into a glass, add 2 to 3 tablespoons of the cordial, and top with cold water. The cordial can also be stored in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 weeks. I'm curious. If you've got roses and water, you can make your own for free. Yeah, actually, there is an old rose bush that was here when I got the house that was struggling, and it's still not all that looking all that great, but it's sort of rose. It's a yellow rose bush, but not producing now. I'd have another beverage on standby. Not everyone likes rose water. That's what I'm imagining here. It's like drinking what a bouquet smells. It's like drinking how a bouquet smells. This sounds heavy and sweet for Miravor. The sugar. I'm still curious, but so it's going to be real sweet. This has got a lot of sugar in it. So you're drinking like a sugared rose. We'll have to see. Miravor is described as a cordial, though, which implies that it's alcoholic. Yeah, for Miravor, you would need some kind, because it's the cordial of the elves. That does seem to imply alcoholic. I think since it's elven, I could be persuaded otherwise. That's the way that humans would describe it, but maybe it's not technically alcoholic, but it could certainly be. Yeah, for Miravor, you'd need some type of alcohol that's mild tasting enough that you can't taste it. Benedictine might be closer to the mark. Okay, this I haven't heard about this. This is a herbal liqueur made in France. It was developed by the wine merchant Alexander Legrand in the 19th century and is reportedly flavored with 27 flowers, berries, herbs, roots, and spices. Oh, well, that's interesting. Huh. Good morning, PH. Good morning. In Lord of the Rings, they likely use snow. Right, yeah, the book says that the Miravor has a warming effect internally. And lightning of the spirits made you merry. Right. So I can so especially I was thinking about that internal warming. That's like what you think of with like a brandy or something. So it behaves exactly, that was my point. So it behaves like alcohol even if it isn't actually alcoholic. Right. That's where I was going with that. Could be either way. Could be interpreted either way, I think. Saint Germain might also provide as a model for Miravor. Its chief flavor component is elderflowers. I'm going to make note of these over here. Benedictine, over here on the Benedictine, Miravor. That would be a fun one. Anyway, the basis, Miravor as a basis would be fun for cooking with dinner and a board game. Let me look up. Saint Germain elderflower liqueur. Of course. So a bouquet in every bottle. Saint Germain is a French liqueur made with fresh elderflowers, hand-picked once a year in late spring. To accomplish its exquisitely natural flavor, every bottle of Saint Germain contains up to 1,000 of the very best elderflower blossoms, resulting in a finely crafted, perfectly balanced, and refreshing liqueur. Huh. So many ways to enjoy Saint Germain's Spritz, Saint Germain's Royale, Saint Germain's Margarita, and more. Okay, I'm curious about that one too. Sable says, I'd actually almost go with something like absinthe, but milder in the anisey flavor and clear and cold. I've got an absinthe story. I'll have to tell it later time. Oh, this is interesting. Daniel says, important thing to know about alcohol is it only warms if its temperature is warm. If it's cold, it's dangerous in a hypothermic situation. So part of that actually has to be magical. Yeah, because that's a great point. It itself would not have been warm because it was up there in the snow with them anyway. So that would have been cold. So physically, it would have been cold, and yet it warms. Sable says elderflower liqueur could work. It's light. Sadly, regarding alcohol, all I know about it is whether or not I like a specific beverage when I drink it. Saint Germain is expensive. I was assuming that these things, as I was looking them up, would be expensive. Saint Germain's is expensive, but a splash of it in your gin and tonic takes it to a whole new level. Oh, Sable says, yeah, alcohol is a fake warmth. It forces your blood to the extremities. You feel warm because it's lowering your core temperature. So I think it has to be, it has to be magical. A large part of the warming effect of alcohol is the dilation of capillaries that increases blood flow to the skin where your sensory nerves are. We all need a tequila blanket now again in the blackout storm. Let's see. Okay, so we came up with some different options for a Miravore here. Old Took's hot chocolate. A delicately grown-up take on hot chocolate. This chili spiked man, I'm not huge on chilies. This is a chili spiked toddy is the perfect antidote to a cold and gray winter day. The chili can be omitted if you prefer, which I think I would, but it brings a welcome hint of extra heat to the chocolate and rum combination. The Old Took, properly named Gerontius Took, I didn't know that, is the 23rd Thane of the Shire and a venerable ancestor of both Pippin and Merry. We can imagine him in his very ripe old age, tucked in a cozy armchair in one of the great smiles, the ancestor seat of the Tooks in Tookborough, sipping his warming hot chocolate with its kick of chili and alcohol. We should note that perhaps surprisingly, Tolkien never mentions chocolate in his stories, perhaps because of its New World origins. This is cocoa powder, instant coffee granules, boiling water, dark rum, castor sugar, teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 1 dried or fresh red chili halved. Now, orc draught. What do we do with this? Oh, chili and chocolate is a great combination, James says. Yeah, I know. Well, we had that conversation that he doesn't. This says that he deliberately took out references to tomatoes because of them being from the New World, but that didn't bother him with things like potatoes. In Middle Earth, potatoes are from Beleriand. So, okay, orc draught. Now, I actually, this is one of the first ones that I flipped to. I was like, okay, orc draught. We got to have some orc draught. What do we do for orc draught then? But I was disappointed in this one because this is definitely an inspired by thing and not a deliberate interpretation or trying to capture whatever it was. Because I looked over here and I saw cinnamon sticks, orange wedges. Like, what kind of orc is going to be having something with cinnamon sticks and orange wedges in it? This says, this honey-laced classic winter warmer really packs a punch, and it's a great choice for when you're entertaining. Orc draught is a burning yet revitalizing drink that the super breed of orcs known as the Uruk-hai force on Merry and Pippin when taking them to Saruman at Isengard. Our reimagining of this drink will numb pain and keep you marching under the banners of darkness for as long as it takes. So I was like, well, okay, let's do this. Ingredients: 1 liter dry cider, 125 milliliters of whiskey, 125 milliliters of orange juice, 4 tablespoons Sept honey, 2 cinnamon sticks, orange wedges and curls to decorate. Optional. We're going to decorate it? I was like, what kind of orcs are going to decorate this? 1. Add all the ingredients to a large saucepan. Cover with the lid and simmer for 20 minutes until piping hot. Stir, then ladle into heat-proof glasses. Add orange wedges and curls to decorate if you desire. I mean, this could actually sound good for, like, Christmas. And I was thinking, well, but it's not orc draught. I don't want to enjoy orc draught. Why orc and not dwarf draught? Well, this is because this is something right from the book. This scene is iconic to me. That chapter, the Uruk-hai, is my favorite chapter in The Lord of the Rings. And this is when they pour down. I mean, basically, I've always thought of it as the orcish equivalent of the Miravore. That the orc draught and the Miravore are the contraries of one another. So whatever Miravor is, the opposite is the orc draught that the Urukai had. This might go better with some. Yeah, this, as it's described here, might be better as something kind of like a cold dwarven drink for dwarves on in winter or something like that. Lynn says, "I bet the orcs serve these with little paper parasols too." Yeah. Sable says, "I think the real orc draught would be straight vodka laced with whorehound, and that's about it." I don't know what that is. White whorehound. Oh, it's a flowering plant of the mint variety, native to Europe, northern Africa, and northwestern Central Asia. Maybe Everclear, maybe. Yeah, it seems like. See, I'm thinking about doing mulled wine this Christmas again. So mulled wine. Typically, I'm in charge for drinks on Christmas, and I made some stuff last Christmas that was too sweet. But mulled wine, and then this I can see as a Christmas drink, but it just does not make me think orc. It's from the book, but we've already taken so many liberties in this cookbook. Well, we have. Yeah, we have. Give it a new name and call it a dwarf drink. That's what I would do with this. And then I'd come up with something else for orc draught. That's what I would have done. I know. The orc draught has got to be harsh. It can't be a Christmas drink, I don't think. Oh, it's an extremely bitter drink. Well, then it would work. It's used as a cough suppressant. It's the most bitter stuff I've ever tasted. Huh. Yes. So, yeah, mulled wine. I got to do that again this Christmas. And maybe this. But I don't think that's a dinner on the board game. No, here's mulled wine. So the mulled wines of Moria. The delicious smells of spices, fruits, and wine will fill the air when you make this decadent mulled drinks. For something a little different from the usual red mulled wine, try the white wine variation. These drinks are perfect for celebrations for a cold winter's day. So red mulled wine. Well, it says caves, even beautifully carved and decorated ones, can be rather cold. Of course, the dwarves of a kingdom like Moria, Khazad-dûm, would have made their cavernous realm comfortable with warm hearths, but still a warm, hearty drink would hardly go amiss after braving the blizzards in the Misty Mountain to reach one of its gates. Here we have two recipes that can be used to liven up even an average bottle of wine imported from the lands of men. Mulled red wine, warming and cheering with an extra kick from some added brandy. Serve 6, 25 minutes. 1 bottle inexpensive red wine. 300 milliliters clear apple juice. 300 milliliters water. Juice of 1 orange. 1 orange sliced. Half a lemon. 1 cinnamon stick halved. 6 cloves. 2 bay leaves. 25 grams castor sugar and 150 milliliters brandy. Whoa. I'm going to put this one over here, because I was talking about mulling wine for Christmas. Mulled wine could be done on camera for dinner and a board game as well. Because this sounds like something. So you pour in the wine, apple juice, water, and orange juice into a large saucepan. Add the sliced orange and lemons, the cinnamon stick, cloves, and bay leaves. Then mix in the sugar and brandy. Cover with the lid and simmer for at least 20 minutes until piping hot. The longer it simmers, the more the flavors will develop. Ladle into heat-proof glasses. Mulled wine is great. Yellowtail is a great brand for a cheap, tasty red wine. Yep, could be Yellowtail. James says, we do mulled wine every Christmas and a couple more times throughout the winter. I love it. Well, I love that too. My favorite cost-effective is Apothic. I agree. Apothic Red is very popular. Especially we typically get that around Christmas as well. It's very popular around here. But I think I would put the yellowtail in this. Okay, mead. Mead is enjoyed as one of my favorite drinks was honey mead that I had at Gulf Wars, an SCA event. Someone had made honey mead, and we were out there drinking it in the fortress. It was great. Oh, Lynn says that recipe for mulled red wine is essentially an old British drink called a bishop. So mead is enjoying a revival among artisan brewers and bartenders in the know. Either make your own or find it at specialty shops and online and enjoy the contemporary way with cocktails opposite. So mead, also known as honey wine, is one of the oldest fermented beverages in the world, found throughout Europe, Asia, and Africa. You'll find it everywhere in Middle-earth. Bjorn serves mead to Thorin's company in The Hobbit. Frodo, Sam, and Pippin meet a company of high elves while still in the Shire in The Lord of the Rings, and drink a honey beverage that sounds much like mead. So the high elves in the Shire drink something that sounds like mead. And when Celeborn and Galadriel bid farewell to the Fellowship of the Ring, they share a drink of white mead to mark the occasion. 2 hours plus 1 year maturing. Okay, so what do you need to make mead? 5 liters of water, 1.2 kilograms of honey, the juice of 1 lemon, a vitamin C tablet, 1 teaspoon wine yeast. I mean, I'm curious. I'm going to put mead over here. Have a beverage theme for dinner and a board game. So you put the water, honey, lemon juice, and vitamin C into a large, heavy-based saucepan and bring to the boil to kill the natural yeasts. You can sterilize the mixture with the appropriate number of proprietary sterilizing tablets if you prefer. Leave the liquid to cool, then transfer to a sterilized demijohn. Add the wine yeast and close with a sterilized airlock. The fermentation will take place for around 2 weeks, and then the lees will start to settle. Rack, siphon off the liquid into another sterilized demijohn. So this is a bit complicated. I think this is why I've never tried this. And store in a dark and cool place. If you can manage to store it in the heavy stone floor, if you can manage to store it on a heavy stone floor, the sediment will fall more easily. Why does it fall more easily if it's sitting on a heavy stone floor? Rack off the meat again. When the liquid is clear, transfer it to bottles and store for at least a year, if you can manage to resist it. Lynn says meat can be very, very good or very, very bad. I've made batches of both types. I've made mead under the deck decades ago when I was still living with my father. He would have preferred I told him before collecting the equipment and brewing up a batch. It ended up being very, very bad. So Lynn says, yeah, that's not the right way to make mead. The proper process is more complicated. Okay, so I thought it was more complicated. But if you just want to make a sack mead, oldest alcoholic drink on earth, you can do it in a week. Well, all right, we'll have to look it up. So this is just telling you it's a mixture of honey, water, lemon juice, and the vitamin C tablet. Bring to a boil. Mead mule? Mead fizz. So drinks in Middle-earth. There is quite a drinking culture in Middle-earth, each with its peoples, most closely associated with a particular kind of beverage, usually of the alcoholic kind. It will come no surprise that hobbits, whose culture broadly reflects that of late Victorian and Edwardian England, have a great liking for beer. The Shire has a large number of inns, and beer flows freely at every meal, feast, and celebration. The very best beer in the East Farthing, so Pippin claims, is brewed at the Golden Perch in Stock, but the Prancing Pony out at Bree, frequented by both hobbits and men, also has an excellent reputation. In the Fourth Early Age, an especially good beer will be routinely compared to the superlative beers of 1420 in the Shire reckoning, the year after the War of the Ring, when the North Farthing barley crop, among other crops, was so fine. Men, too, are partial to beer, but mead, made by fermenting honey with water, also seems to be widely drunk, especially with a nobler mannish people such as the Bjornings and the Rohirrim, for whose culture Tolkien took inspiration for the drinking of Anglo-Saxons, mead-drinking Anglo-Saxons. In The Hobbit, Gandalf drinks at least a quart of mead while breakfasting under the roof of Bjorn, the Bjorning's chieftain, and the sweet golden beverage must have been served at the Medusehold, the golden hall of the kings of Rohan, whose very name is derived from the English word Maduseld, or mead hall. Oh, so that comes from mead hall. Interesting. While we know there are vineyards in the South Farthing of the Shire, among the hobbits, old wineyards is an esteemed appellation. Wine is most closely associated with the elves. In The Hobbit, the Elven King of Mirkwood is very fond of wine and keeps a prodigiously well-stocked cellar, as well as a butler to look after it. His favorite wine is a strong, heady vintage from the Dorwinion on the shores of the Sea of Rhûn, hundreds of miles away. We might well imagine that the ultra-civilized Númenóreans and the Gondorians after them are also inveterate wine drinkers. Not every drink that's invertate. Here's another word for us. Inveterate. Inverterate. Wine drinkers. Having a particular habit, activity, or interest that is long established and unlikely to change. Inveterate. Yes, habitual. Not every drink in Middle-earth is alcoholic. The Ents, the guardians of trees, rather than eating in a conventional sense, take sustenance and refreshment from Ent draughts, which are made from river water and kept in large stone jars. The draughts seem to have an almost supernatural power to promote growth. Pippin and Merry grow 2 or 3 inches taller after consuming Ent draughts during their time in Fangorn Forest. The elves, too, have Miravor, a sustaining herbal cordial. Well, and that's it. Oh, it's inverterate and veteran. Inveterate, then. Oh, this is one of your favorite words? Along with plethora and abscond. I had never heard inveterate. I'm going to use it, though. It'll show up someplace. All right. Oh, this was a long one. See, okay, so apparently I pronounced that word strangely. You guys were trying to correct me on that, and I was thinking that because it's pronounced strangely. Indefatigable. Well, hold on. Because I was looking at that. Somebody was trying to get me to pronounce that differently than I pronounced it. Well, whatever. But yes, that's a great word. Oh, so it's indefatigable. 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 Now, James is putting the emphasis on the in. Indefatigable. No, Sable's emphasis is correct. Okay. Indefatigable. 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 Okay. Well, I like the word too. But apparently I always pronounce it wrong. All right. Man, I can't believe it's already Friday. Oh man. All right. I got stuff to do. Cars, maybe going. I know I've got to get this car done. I got to clean. After I get the text of this done, one thing I'm going to do is do a deep cleaning in this house. That has got to be done. But I still do have to go where dreams come from, wherever that is, wherever dreams come from. That's where I must go to finish this Christmas story. Okay, James. Well, I will say it out loud. That's a good one. Yes. When we're back on, that's great. All right, that's what we need. All right, everybody. I am out of here. Have a wonderful day. Go be constructive, be creative, and grind on. Later.